For today's class, we're going to do an intermediate vinyasa flow. As always, feel free to take options and modifications as you need. We're going to start in our mountain pose with our feet underneath our hips. Let's take a big shoulder roll, lifting shoulders up, relaxing them back and setting them down as we soften and close our eyes, noticing our palms facing forward. And we'll just take a moment to bring our awareness to the breath, to the inhale breath and the exhale breath. Noticing the air flowing in, expanding our rib cage, filling our lungs with air. And as we exhale, noticing a relaxation that comes to our shoulders, to our face, as that air gently flows out. As we start to breathe deeper, we can start to slow down that breath as well. As we continue to breathe deeply, letting go of any thoughts or distractions, just bringing our awareness solely to the breath. As we continue to breathe, becoming aware of our body and our posture, noticing the weight in our feet, grounding and stable into the mat, a softening of the knees that allows us to bring awareness to the engagement of the core. Again, our shoulders relaxed as our arms rest next to the body, and a lifting of the crown of the head. As we become fully aware of the body, we can also become aware of the space and the air around our body. As we start to bring movement with the breath, our next inhale breath will slowly rise the arms up to the sky. And as our palms meet, bringing hands down to heart center. Continuing to circle sweep, flow the arms. Inhaling as we lift, and exhaling as we bring hands down. A few more times, flowing movement and breath. And as always, moving faster or slower with our movement as it matches the breath. And we'll flow our arms just one more time. Ultimately bringing hands to our heart center. And from here, we'll take an inhale, lifting arms up to the sky. And this time flowing down towards the mat. Let's hold for a moment, softening the knees so our fingertips can find the mat, tucking our chin, and a little sway side to side like a rag doll. Relaxing through the low back. Lengthening through the hamstrings. And as we inhale, lifting back up to the sky. Exhaling, releasing back down one more time. Gently holding, a little sway and rock side to side. With our next inhale breath, we'll now flow into our chair pose. First, hands to heart center, sinking hips down and back. As we continue to move in and out of our chair, we do have the option, if we'd like greater range of motion for our shoulders, to circle sweep arms out in front of us. And as we start to feel our hips and legs warming, we can sink a little deeper into our chair pose. flow one more time, in and out of our chair pose. As we inhale and rise our arms up to the sky, let's release back down into that forward fold. Stepping our feet back into a downward facing dog, inverted V shape of the body. We'll take an alternate pedal pushing of our heels to the mat, pressing and holding one heel down, switching, pressing, holding the other heel down. And then to stretch a little bit more through the bottom of the feet, let's press those heels down, then lift up onto our tiptoes, and then relaxing those heels back down. Again, lifting to tiptoes, heels to sky, and relaxing down. One more time. And then if we'd like, we can hold or maybe pedal push those heels again. Whatever would feel good for the calves, for the back of the legs. As we drop our knees down to the mat, coming to our all fours position with our wrists underneath our shoulders, knees underneath the hips, let's resettle our weight to center. Nice neutral spine. As we flow our cat-cow, let's first arch through our backs, lifting crown ahead, lifting our tailbone, and then tucking and rounding our spine. So as we inhale into our cow pose, stretching front of the back, exhaling into our cat pose, continuing to flow with the breath. Let's flow through one more of each. As we turn back to neutral, let's walk our hands out and lower down onto our bellies. We're going to flow in and out of our cobra pose to find more mobility to the upper back. So with our hands lightly underneath our shoulders are down, chin is tucked. Let's inhale and lift our heart center away from the mat. And exhale to release back down. Continuing to flow with the breath. Again, inhaling to raise. Exhale to release. Keeping strength through our core, through our glutes, through our legs. As we continue to lift and lower just 2 more times. As we ultimately press ourselves up, let's place hips back to heels in our child's pose. We're going to pause here for a moment, just taking note of the body. Maybe a little rock side to side to massage through the hips, relaxing a little bit more through the hips and low back. Making sure we tuck our chin, lengthening the back of the neck. We settle our weight to center. Let's walk both hands off to the right side to create a lateral flexion of the spine. Big, deep breath through our side body. And walking hands off to the other side. Again, deep inhale breath, feeling that stretch to the side, stretching intercostal muscles, all those little muscles in between the ribs. As we bring our hands back to center, gazing up towards our fingertips to flow through our modified vinyasa, where we shift forward into a kneeling plank with a strong neutral spine lowering halfway down, pressing back up, and hips to heels in our child's pose. Continuing to flow with the breath, again inhaling forward, halfway lower, pressing back up, and hips to heels. If we'd like more strengthening in the upper body, we can always add more push-ups. Or if we want something a little more gentle, we can take out the push-ups. And flowing one more time at our own pace. Ultimately resting hips back to heels in our child's pose. From here, tucking and lifting into our downward facing dog. Pausing for a moment, deep inhale breath, lifting hips up to the sky, relaxing shoulders from ears. Then we can walk, step, or jump our feet to the top of the mat into our forward fold. From here, inhaling to rise to the sky, moving through our chair pose as we begin our sun salutations. First inhaling up to an extended mountain. Forward folding down to the mat with an exhale breath. We'll step our right foot back into a lunge, raising arms up to the sky, into a high lunge. From here, releasing our hands down, we'll ground our right palm, taking the left arm up to the sky in a twisting lunge. As our hand comes down to the mat, finding our way into a downward facing dog. From here, shifting forward to plank, knees or toes, we'll lower halfway down, inhaling into an upward facing dog, and back into our downward facing dog. With our right foot stepping forward, reaching back up to sky for lunge, releasing our hands, grounding our left palm this time, right arm up to sky, twisting lunge. Releasing the hand, let's make our way into fold, rising upwards, and moving through chair pose. Flowing through 2 more salutations, same sequence. This time, we're going to lead with our left leg stepping back. Again, inhaling up to sky. Releasing our hands, grounding left palm, right arm up to sky. As we flow to mat for downward facing dog, we'll shift forward into a plank, lowering halfway, finding upward facing dog, and back into downward facing dog. As our left foot steps forward, inhaling to raise. Let's release those hands, grounding the right palm, left arm up to sky, inhaling breath. Releasing the hand, stepping into forward fold, rising and reaching to sky, and moving through chair pose. 1 more salutation. As we release down to mat this time, right foot steps back. Again, lifting into high lunge. As we release down, grounding right palm, left arm up to sky, inhaling deep breath. As we release to downward facing dog. Once again, flowing through vinyasa, knees or toes. And from our downward facing dog, right foot steps forward. Let's release for twisting lunge, right arm up to sky. As we find our way into forward fold, inhaling to rise. And as we flow into, we'll hold our chair pose. We have the option of hands reaching in front, hands to heart center. We like more or less strengthening of the shoulders. And as we now move into our balancing chair, flowing up onto tiptoes, heels away from sky, and we sink a little lower to the mat. One more breath here. As we let those heels rest down, we rise to sky, making our way into a fold. Stepping our right foot back, we'll find Warrior 2 stance, turning so our back foot is parallel to back edge of mat, front knee and toe forward, arms extending out from shoulder height. To add more heat building and strengthening, we're going to flow before we hold, so we'll straighten arms and legs, and exhale to sink back down. Again, inhaling to lift, and exhale we lower. And as we flow with breath, seeing if we can go a little bit deeper into the pose. Maybe that encourages us to lengthen our stance. 1 more flow. Then we'll hold our Warrior 2 pose. Gazing just past the tip of the front fingers. We'll focus on pulling our back shoulder back towards the mat, so our right shoulder pulling backwards. Maintaining this openness in the torso, lifting into reverse warrior, front palm to sky. Noticing we maintain that knee bend on the front knee. As we release our hands down to the mat, shifting into lunge, readjusting that back foot. And we'll continue to turn our torso towards our front foot into prayer twist lunge. Nice deep bend of the front knee. So that comes over the ankle, and we can push out of our back toes. So both legs are strengthening. Untwisting, we can return to our downward facing dog. Holding here if we like to flow through a vinyasa for more strength building, maybe finding our child's pose for a little bit of rest. Couple more breaths here, and then we'll find that same sequence on the other side. So we take and step our right foot forward, and opening up into Warrior Two, checking our back foot parallel, front foot forward, and we begin to flow, inhaling to raise the arms, straightening legs, exhale to release. Working to find mobility in the hips, in the knee. Ultimately holding our Warrior Two, taking that moment to notice our body position, finding any small corrections to better our alignment. And as we inhale, coming into our reverse warrior. Shoulder relaxing away from ears, heart center reaches towards that lifted palm. We ultimately release our hands down to the mat, shifting our stance into lunge, and let's move into that prayer twist lunge, rotating towards the front knee. Hugging front knee to thigh, thigh to knee, and feeling strength through both legs. We slowly untwist, making our way back into downward facing dog. Again, holding here, or if we'd like more heat building, flowing through a vinyasa. Couple more breaths. Now as we take and step our right foot forward, opening back into that Warrior Two stance. This time we're going to straighten the front leg, reaching forward and down into our triangle pose. Nice openness through the body. We can gaze down towards the mat, out to the side, or up towards that lifted palm, whatever works best for our neck. As we engage our glutes, noticing strengthening and lengthening of the front leg. Let's soften that front knee as we bring our torso up, returning to our Warrior Two, bending that front knee a little bit more, coming back forward into our side angle. Noticing once again that same sense of openness, but more strengthening through our body. This is helping to prepare us for the body awareness and coordination for our balancing half moon, which is coming up next. Let's release down into a lunge, stepping entirely onto our front foot, back foot lifted, With our front hand in line with our front foot, we'll open our body just like it was in those two last poses, using the glutes for strength, core for balance and stability. As we release back into our tripod, back foot will come down to the mat into our warrior one stance. 45-degree angle on that back foot. We'll rise our torso, bending front knee, and arms can come up to the sky. Big, deep inhale breath here. And as we ground that back heel, noticing the stretching of the calf. One last posture in this sequence. We'll bring our hands to heart center. We're going to step entirely onto our front foot, lifting our knee. And as we cross across the bent knee, sinking down into our standing balance pigeon. Working to keep the hips square. At the same time we are balancing, we're also getting some stretch through the left hip. As we raise up, returning to our mountain pose. The sequence on the other side, we'll inhale to rise to sky, releasing hands down to the mat. As we step our right foot back, warrior two stance. A nice long stance, openness through the torso. We'll straighten that front leg, inhaling a breath, exhaling forward and down into our triangle pose. Again, eye gaze down to the mat, out to the side or up to the sky, whatever's most comfortable. One more breath here, noticing the lengthening and opening of the body. As we have softness to our front knee, rising our torso up into warrior two, and then back forward and down into our side angle. Strong core engagement here. Dynamic tension all throughout the body. As we release down into lunge, preparing for half moon, we'll step entirely on that front foot, lifting our back into our tripod, opening the right arm up to the sky, finding our focus and balance. Again, eye gaze can be down to the mat, out to the side, or up to the sky. Easiest for balance is down to the mat. But if we'd like to challenge ourselves, maybe shifting our eye gaze. As we release down to the mat into tripod, finding warrior one, back foot grounded, inhaling as we rise. Couple more deep inhales and exhales here. Maybe seeing if we can sink down deeper into our front knee. So you release those hands to heart center. Stepping onto our front foot, lifting our knee. crossing across and sinking down into standing balance pigeon. As we release from this pose back into mountain, let's inhale to rise, arms up to the sky, releasing down into our fold. Pausing here for a moment, just like we did at the start, for a little sway side to side, just taking note of how our bodies have adapted and changed throughout the practice. As we make our way into a child's pose, hips to heels. Arms can reach forward, maybe hands stack underneath the forehead, or hands come back by our heels, whatever position's most comfortable for us. As we slowly start to rise ourselves up, let's make our way seated on the mat. First, preparing for our boat pose with our legs around in front of us. Sitting up nice and tall, we'll come to the back part of our sits bones, floating our feet away from the mat. We can stay here, maybe straightening the legs or extending the arms, whatever challenges we'd like to bring into the practice. As we ultimately bring our arms in, legs in, feet will come down to the mat, hands behind, we'll extend the legs, preparing for incline plank, where we point the toes, engage inner thighs, shoulders down, lifting with our glutes, trying to find the body a nice straight line, with chin tucking or eye gaze lifting up towards the sky. We'll release our hips back down to the mat. And from here, single leg stretch, where we bring the right heel in, left leg will stay straight. We'll inhale a breath, and exhale as we reach towards the toes, ankle, shin, wherever we can reach today. And as we release on this side, let's shift off to the other side. The right leg will extend, left heel draws in. Again, inhaling length to our posture, and exhale as we release forward. Let's slowly release from this pose as we make our way onto our backs. We'll come supine with knees into our chest. First little rock side to side, massaging the low back. And with our feet down to the mat, preparing for bridge pose, where we draw our shoulders down from ears, and as we press into our heels to lift the hips to the sky. For a little bit more strengthening through our glutes, we're going to do a single leg bridge. First, pressing weight into the right foot, we'll lift the left knee and heel to the sky. Bringing that foot back down to the mat, now grounding through the left, lifting the right up to the sky. Noticing if we have one side that's a little bit more strong than the other side, because we're going to repeat with that side that could use a little bit more strengthening. As we bring both feet down, taking a moment to evaluate, did we feel more strong on the first or the second side? The one that we felt a little less strong on, we're going to repeat that side. So for me, that was the first side. So pressing into the heel of choice, lifting the other leg up to the sky. And ultimately bringing feet down to the mat for an extra moment in our bridge pose. And as we release our hips, knees can come into chest. Little rock side to side. And our final pose is going to be supine spinal twist. We'll extend the left leg long, bringing the right knee across the body. Relaxing our arms and our legs. As we come back onto our backs to find the other side, re-squaring hips. This time right leg extends, left knee comes across the body. As we did on the first side, it's helpful to fully relax the body, releasing tension from arms and legs, hips. It allows the back to relax. Let's come back onto our backs for a moment in final relaxation. We get to lay supine, fully comfortable and relaxed. Eyes are soft and closed. Feeling the body heavy in the mat. Returning back to our natural breath, just easy inhales and exhales. As we start to bring some gentle movement into the body, wiggling fingertips and toes or rolling wrists and ankles, we can start to slowly bring ourselves up to seated, where we meet in easy seated with hands on our knees. Our eyes are soft and closed. As we bring our hands together, our heart center in our Anjali Mudra.